All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that honestly reads like an absolute fever dream. We are talking about a narrative that collides action packed, futuristic sci fi right into the ancient apocalyptic visions of the Book of Revelation. It's wild, it's incredibly dense, so let's just dive right into the structure and themes of this story. Listen to this opening. I was a soldier named Samuel. I was running from two growling bear creatures wielding sabers. That is exactly how our source text opens. There's no slow buildup, no gentle introduction. This isn't the climax, it's literally the very first sentence. We are immediately thrown into a high-stakes survival situation that just completely ignores conventional genre boundaries. Okay, part one, the sci-fi escape. Tactical gear meets biblical references. So right off the bat, the text establishes the gritty physical reality of our protagonist, Samuel. He isn't just running. He's wearing a futuristic spacesuit specifically designed to dampen blows. But despite this high-tech armor, he's actively bleeding from bullet wounds. And that detail is absolutely crucial. It grounds the surreal elements of the story in very real action movie stakes. Samuel is vulnerable, he's hurt, and he is fighting for his life. This perfectly captures the sheer thematic whiplash of the text. On one side, pure modern sci-fi. Samuel uses a high-tech wristwatch to call down blue satellite lasers from orbit to vaporize these saber-wielding bear things. But how does he actually trigger the orbital strike? By punching in the number of the 12 apostles. It's this seamless, almost jarring mashup of modern tactical warfare and ancient theology packed into a single action sequence. Moving into Section 2, Captured by the Beast. From bear creatures to black Humvees. To really appreciate the relentless pacing here, just look at the bizarre array of enemies Samuel faces in a matter of seconds. He goes from battling fantastical bear creatures to suddenly being boxed in by a fleet of black Humvees. And who steps out of those Humvees? Soulless, black-eyed soldiers actually bearing the mark of the beast. The author is layering pure supernatural dread right on top of modern military intimidation. And it gets crazier. The soldiers nab him and immediately radio their boss. Who's on the line? Jezebel. The text explicitly takes one of the most infamous figures from biblical antiquity and sticks her on a modern two-way radio, shrieking commands at her black-eyed grunts to bring him in for a special surprise. It just completely collapses the gap between the ancient world and modern technology. Which brings us to Section 3, The Flight to Jezebel, a geographic and narrative journey. Let's map out this forced transport. Samuel gets beaten by his captors, but notice what they use to tie him up. Bone belts. So you have this primitive, almost prehistoric restraint, right? But then they toss him into a completely modern helicopter and fly him for an entire day deep into enemy territory. It's a wild juxtaposition. When they finally land, the setting is incredibly cinematic. They arrive at this red manor tucked into a valley, but the crucial detail is the geography around it. The valley is completely surrounded by tooth-like mountains. It paints a terrifying picture of a hostile, inescapable landscape. Samuel isn't just being taken to a prison. It feels like he's being physically swallowed whole by the environment. Now for Section 4, codename Samson's Sacrifice, a deliberate tactical maneuver. Here we get a super rare look inside Samuel's head as he's brought to the manor. The text says fears tried to take over his mind. But he fights that panic back with one specific, overarching motive, a vision of the victims of religions being set free. This is massive. It tells us why he is enduring this capture and gives him a clear ideological goal in the middle of this bizarre, apocalyptic war. So let's look at the actual military logic at play here. Samuel didn't just accidentally fail to escape those Humvees. He let it happen. It's a total Trojan horse maneuver. Step 1, allow the capture. Step 2, smuggle hidden C4 explosives on his body. And step 3, basically bank on the arrogance or incompetence of the enemy, waiting for them to forget to search him properly. He brilliantly turned his own capture into a lethal tactical advantage. And that sets up the major turning point. Tied up and facing the monstrous Jezebel, Samuel hears the words code name Samson in his mind, and he smiles. It's such a powerful reference. Just like the biblical Samson sacrificing himself to bring the temple down on his enemies, Samuel knows it's time to trigger his hidden C4. His impending death isn't a defeat. It's the ultimate tactical strike. Watch how these two huge themes collide at the climax. First, the language of modern warfare. The C4 goes off, creating this pulsating center of fears that detonates into a massive atomic-style mushroom cloud. But at the exact same time, it triggers a literal biblical apocalypse. The Red Manor isn't just blown up, it gets sucked deep into the earth, into the literal lake of fire. The modern explosive acts as the direct catalyst for divine judgment.
And finally, Section 5, Ascension to the Brightness, the final resolution.
So what happens to the antagonists? The text doesn't hold back on the heavy apocalyptic terminology. The Red Manor and Jezebel are completely swallowed by the earth, consumed entirely by the lake of fire. And pulling straight from ancient apocalyptic literature, it explicitly says the smoke of their torment will rise forever. It is an absolute, eternal victory over the forces of the beast. But for Samuel, the ending is entirely different. Having made his sacrifice, the intense narrative arc resolves with this incredibly comforting image. He isn't destroyed. The text says he ascends into the brightness to reunite with his family. And as he goes up, he sees a glowing white stone held in Jesus' hand. It's a deeply serene theological conclusion to a story that, remember, started with spacesuits and satellite lasers. So what's the big takeaway here? When you smash modern military anxiety, stuff like C4, satellites, and black Humvees, straight into ancient visions of the mark of the beast and the lake of fire, what does that actually tell us about the ultimate human search for salvation? I think it shows that whether we're imagining futuristic laser battles or ancient demons, the narratives we use to understand good, evil, and ultimate sacrifice, well, they're always going to be deeply, stubbornly intertwined. Thanks for diving into this explainer with me, and I'll catch you next time.